Hello my friends, back in 2022, a card game came out called Mindbug, and it was co-designed by Richard Garfield, the one who did Magic the Gathering, King of Tokyo, things like that, and it took the world by storm. It was an amazing little combating dual card game, and it was my card game of the year. They've come out with many different standalone expansion sets since then. Most of those have made my expansion game of the year, or my expansion of the year. Well, today I got a surprise for you because today we're going to be looking at Mindbug King of Tokyo. This is the crossover of the century, where basically they took King of Tokyo and Mindbug and put it together. I'm going to show you what's different about this than the standard Mindbug and some of my favorite cards. So here we go. Now, Mindbug King of Tokyo shares all of the base mechanisms of the main game Mindbug, and I've already covered those extensively in many videos. So if you want to learn the basics of Mindbug or how it works, you can click the link in the description below or click that little eye in the upper right. That'll give you an overview of how Mindbug itself works, because this works exactly the same, but there's a lot of different things added into this that I'm going to go over. So I'm only going to show you the differences in this new version. And well, first of all, look at all these characters. You probably recognize these if you're familiar with King of Tokyo. Panda Kai, Baby Gigazor, Cyber Bunny, Space Penguin, Captain Fish. So obviously all the characters are from King of Tokyo, which you may recognize. Now, let's start talking about some of the new mechanisms in the game. Some of the cards have a die in it, like this. Now, when you attack with a card that has a die, there's actually one card in the deck that has 2 dice. You actually get to roll both of them. So when you attack, you would roll a die. Now, each player has 1 die. And let's say you rolled a 1. If you roll a 1, a 2, or a 3, you grow and you add that to the strength. So if I rolled a 3, it would be a 4. After I roll, the other player can decide whether to block or not. There's also sort of the attack symbol from King of Tokyo. That forces the opponent to discard a card, or you might roll 1 or 2 energy. And when you roll that, you take 1 or 2 energy cubes. There's one die that's sort of pink. That's for one player. The green one's for the other player. It doesn't much matter. And when you get the card that has 2 dice, you just basically roll both of them. So those are many of the different mechanisms. So let's talk about what you could do with these energy cubes. Now, those creature cards we just showed you, there's 32 of them in the game, and there's 16 of these power cards. Now, there's 3 face-up, just like in normal King of Tokyo. At the beginning of your turn, you can buy as many of these as you can afford, and if you buy one, you reveal a new one. It shows you the cost up there, and these do all sorts of really powerful things, like return an allied creature to your hand, trigger the play effect of an allied creature, draw any card from a discard pile, from your discard pile. Now, I'm going to actually show you some of my favorite ones of these, because some of these abilities are just super powerful, and they give you really interesting levers to pull. But first, let's go over some of the effects from some of the creature cards that I really like Pumpkin Jack. Play a card with a play effect from your discard pile, essentially resurrecting something from the dead. Mecha Dragon allows you to make the opponent lose a life when you play it. And Mega Shark gains you an energy, so some things are going to give you some of that currency. Now, this one's actually the only one that gives you 2 dice to roll when you attack with them. The Kraken gives you allied creatures with a power of 8 or more have Sneaky. That's super powerful. And other allied creatures have an additional die up to a maximum of 2. And we have Gigazor. When it's defeated, the opponent loses 1 life. Really cool ability there. Ironback, when it's defeated, gain 1 energy for each enemy creature. And Draconis, when you gain 2 energy when you play this. And the last two I'll show you are 2 popular characters from the original game, Alienoid. It's tough, but it also, when you play it, you get to buy a power card for free. Love that ability. And the King has Frenzy, but other allied creatures cannot attack because it's so powerful. He's the only one who can attack. Pretty cool. Now let's take a look at some of the power card abilities. Ambush, you basically just get to defeat an enemy creature. Great timing for this one. Extra Head, allied creatures have an additional die this turn, up to a maximum of 2 dice. And Pounce, allied creatures have Hunter this turn. So anybody can have Hunter on your turn. It's just timely things that can really change the game. Random Mutation allows you to reveal the top card of the power deck and buy it for free. Just get a good random card maybe. Railgun, the opponent loses a life. Just boom. You could end up killing them and winning the game with that. And Rage, allied creatures have Frenzy this turn. And the last 2 I'll show you here is Suburban Camouflage. Allied creatures have Sneaky this turn. So cool. It can be super powerful because it's really hard to block Sneaky. And Reanimation, draw any card from an opponent's discard pile. That's all the new stuff I'm going to show you. Now, in the past, I've interviewed Richard Garfield a few times on the channel here, and off camera, we had talked about this King of Tokyo Mindbug thing when it was in development, and I was just like, whoa, blown away. But I had sort of kind of forgotten about it because it was so long ago that we had discussed it. And so when this came in, I was super excited. This essentially for me is like the crossover of the century, because it's like it's already, Mindbug is already sort of a fighting dueling game, and King of Tokyo is a fighting dueling game, and they both have Richard Garfield as, well, Mindbug, he's one of the three designers, and in King of Tokyo, he is the designer. And so to bring these things together is kind of a very natural fit. And so this is just a really cool thing because it fits really well. Plus, anyone that knows King of Tokyo, you're already going to be familiar with these monsters and such, and you're going to have some affinity for some of them. They have all of the monsters in there, plus all the promo monsters and such. I remember at one time Space Penguin was selling for huge at one point because there wasn't many of them. Stuff like that in King of Tokyo. So I think people that like King of Tokyo are going to be even more inclined to like this version of Mindbug just because, they have the affinity for some of these. So let's talk about what's different about this. When you attack, you get to roll a dice. And that's really cool because not all the cards have dice on them. Only some of them do. A good amount of them do, but not all of them for sure. And so you get to roll that die. And I like that part feels very King of Tokyo-ish. The dice basically look exactly like a King of Tokyo die, a 1, 2, or 3, where in King of Tokyo you get your points, but here it gives you more strength for that turn for that creature that you're attacking. And that's really cool because if you're backed up against the wall or you think you're stuck, sometimes in Mindbug you can see the field and you can go, there's no way I'm coming back from this. But with this, you could be like, you know what? I'll attack with this. I'll roll a die. Maybe I can get through. Or maybe I can even tie that creature over there that's killing me, so maybe they'll both die. The unsurety of what you might be able to do with that gives yourself a bunch of new decision space. For me, I think all of the new things, it gives you a new strategy lever to pull. It is entwined with randomness, which I'll get to later, but at the same time, it gives you the, if this happens, I could do this. And you're starting to think about hypotheticals of, and all of these, even sometimes just rolling a 1 can completely change your strategy in the game for that time. Because Mindbug is very tactical. Cards are going to be good or not as good depending on what the board state is, what else you have in your hand, what else is in front of you, what's over there. But even just changing one number on something might not sound like something huge, but it absolutely changes what you can do, and it changes all your strategy. So I like that. The energy to buy, the power cards. That is really cool because, again, these power cards are sitting there. You can see them, and, it's in addition to your normal action, you get to do it. So at the beginning of your turn, you can buy as many as you want and use them. And it's like, hey, defeat a creature or do this. All these powerful things that, again, are levers, but those are ones that both of you can see. So both of you are now looking at the state of the board. You're looking at your own cards. You're thinking of some strategies. If you're stuck, you're looking there. Or now when you're playing a card, you're like, if I don't Mindbug this card, it's okay because next turn I can use the energy to buy this card, which will defeat that creature anyway. So it's like there's just, again, more depth and more layers to the game without adding a whole lot of mechanisms. And what they're adding are things that you're probably familiar with if you've played King of Tokyo. So there's not a lot of overhead and mechanisms, but again, the different things that you can think through now and the different options you have expand even more, which in normal Mindbug is already a lot of decision space, a lot of agency. But here, you can't really get stuck because you always have an opportunity to do something good. And that's the biggest thing with this. With the power cards, a lot of them, like many of the abilities, they're timing. Like some cards might not make a whole lot of big deal now, but some might. Like someone just make the opponent lose a life. You could win a game with that. One of them's like gain a life. You could save your game with that, right? You could do a thing where you save a life and you just boom, now you're right back in it. And so I just love it because those are levers you can see, and then the other levels that you have are those abilities on the cards that have dice that you know that, hey, I could play this, and then when I roll the die and I attack with them next turn, I could do this right now. Again, I think it just opened up a lot more agency about it too. So I think everything that they've added here makes the game better, which is crazy to me because the game was already amazing. It adds a lot more excitement. It adds a lot more decision space, and I just think it's fantastic. What is maybe not so good about this? Well, by having this extra lever, it brings in a lot of randomness because a lot of the things you're doing are rolling dice. Some of the cards you play, sure, and the play ability allows you to get some of those energy, and you can use that to get cards. That's not random. But most of the time, you're going to be getting energy from rolling dice. And most of the time, you're changing the values by rolling dice. So this will bring in, or could bring in, too much randomness for serious Mindbug players. People that just live and die with this game, they're not probably going to like the randomness, because again, they want to paint you in a corner and just put their foot on your neck and just destroy you. Where this is like, hey, you might be hanging by a thread, but a couple of lucky rolls might change things to allow you to completely change the landscape, right? And so maybe those people that are really serious Mindbug players can use this to introduce new players to Mindbug, because Mindbug's one of the things where, like, if you're really good at it and the other player's not, you either have to go really easy or you're going to destroy them, right? But this now gives the other players a little bit more of a chance because it throws that randomness in there. So I don't think serious players will like this for serious play, but I think they could use this to get other people into the game faster. So I think it's fantastic. I was really looking forward to this. It's lived up to the hype. For all these reasons, I am giving it my highest honor, Saxophone Serenade. So obviously it is staying in my gaming library. So here we go. Game Toppers upgrades every game you play, being the one table to rule them all with Game Toppers, leg kits, dining covers, premium game mats, and more. In their 5.0 Kickstarter, they found a way to deflate prices to pre-pandemic levels without sacrificing their quality brand, and in some cases by $200, plus dropping the shipping price as much as 50%, saving another $100. Go to GameToppersLLC.com to late pledge now.